Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dave Reid, the race director for the Ironman 70.3 St. George event on May 6th. And I wanted to get together and do a little Facebook Live event to give you guys an update on the logistics of the event in case you've never done this race. It's a great event. I have a lot of fun being in St. George, and I hope you will too, but I wanted to kind of give you a sense of some of the logistics that you'll deal with getting there, once you're there, race day, and try and ease some of that, or answer some of those questions that might come up for you. So feel free to fire off any emails, questions through Facebook Live, and I will do my best to answer those. I'll just kind of have my eye split between a couple screens, so I'll do my best to answer questions as they come in, but I wanted to take a few minutes to go through things. So hopefully this is helpful. We'll do another Facebook Live event in a few weeks, really diving into some of the swim, bike, and run course details, but this one we wanted to kind of go over the logistics. So just to start, for folks who aren't familiar, haven't been to St. George, or this is the first time, if you're flying, a lot of times you fly in and out of Vegas. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, depending on how heavy your foot is, from Vegas into St. George. It's a beautiful drive through the desert, and then you come up through the Virgin River Gorge, which is a really spectacular little section, and then you come right into St. George. The only real thing I wanted to mention on the travel to and from Vegas is just to remind you guys that depending on where you're coming from, Vegas and St. George are an hour apart. So don't do what I did in 2012 after I raced the full Ironman in St. George. A little bleary and delirious the next day. You're doing the math in your head about when you need to leave to get to the airport on time, and I spaced on the hour difference. So of course I got to the airport an hour earlier than I needed to. So especially after a race, keep that in mind. Last thing you want to do is sit in the airport any longer than you have to, probably. So that's just some of the logistics in terms of getting to and from St. George. Once you're there, it's a great venue. Your expo, registration, finish line are all going to be in the town square, which is kind of on just off Main Street in St. George, Main and Tabernacle. It's a great spot, big park, and it's a real spectator-friendly race day, and we've got a great venue for the expo and Ironman Village and registration. So you'll get there. Hopefully you guys get a chance to get to St. George early. It's a beautiful place to visit. So if you get there early, you can, take in some of the sights, maybe get out to Zion, or just spend some time in Snow Canyon where you'll be riding your bike through. But I certainly recommend either getting there early or staying for a few days because it's a beautiful place to hang out. Registration begins on Thursday, May 4th at 2 p.m. Runs till 7 on Thursday, and then it's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday. So because we have a Saturday race, registration's Thursday afternoon, all day Friday. The one thing you want to keep in mind if you're planning to come into town or check in on Friday is that you have a window of time between 1 and 6 p.m. on Friday to drop off your bike at T1, which is Sand Hollow State Park. And that is about 30 minutes from transition. And so you want to give yourself enough time to do that check-in comfortably. You don't want to feel rushed. So don't wait till 5 o'clock or 4:45 to register and then have to run out to Sand Hollow and drop off your bike. So I recommend trying to get in early, like I said, maybe check in on Thursday. That way you get a chance to get a lay of the land, and then you're not rushed on Friday to get your bike out to Sand Hollow. You'll also have to drop off your run gear bag on Friday as well. So you'll drop off your bike out at Sand Hollow, and then you'll drop off your run gear bag on Friday between 1 and 6. And transition 2, T2, is right there adjacent to the park. There's a big parking lot right next to the registration tent. You'll see it set up when you get there, and that's where you'll be dropping off your run gear bags. So those are the two kind of logistical things that you got to deal with after checking in on Friday. We have a great event on Friday evening in town. It's the St. George Street Festival from 6 o'clock till 10. I don't imagine folks will be raging on Friday night before the race till 10, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. That's a fun little event going on in conjunction with the race. So there's food and music and stuff to hang out and check out if you want to spend a little bit of time that evening doing that. And then we have our kids fun run at 6:30 on Friday night, and there's two lengths depending on how old your kids are. There's a little short run for the little ones, and then there's about a mile run basically around the block, and they finish under the big arch that you guys will be finishing at on Main Street. Come Saturday, I want to kind of go over some of the logistics there. We have an optional athlete bus situation, so you're not necessarily required as an athlete to take the bus. The buses start at 4:30 right at T2, but personally I would recommend taking the bus. I think it just you're going to want to probably swing by your run gear bag and drop off some nutrition in there rather than leave something to get baked in the sun on Friday. So it gives you a chance to touch your run gear bag, maybe drop off some supplemental nutrition, some water bottles or food. And then the bus is right there starting at 4:30. We've got a ton of buses. It's always real quick loading and getting folks on. And we get you out there and we drop you off right at T1. Whereas if you want to drive, which you're absolutely entitled to do, you'll be parking off of Sand Hollow Road. There's a road off of Sand Hollow called 3150 North. It's in the Spectator and Athlete Guide information, and you'll be able to park there. There'll be a light tower if it's dark still. Then you'll either wait there for the bus. There'll be some buses circling from T1 back down to that location. And so you can take that bus. A lot of times I see folks getting a little impatient or nervous as you typically do come race morning, and they start walking. So it's not a long walk, it's less than a mile, but it's just one more thing that makes taking the bus a little bit smoother than driving. Spectators can drive out, and obviously they don't have as much logistical stuff to deal with, and they've got a little bit longer time window, so spectators are welcome to drive out. Spectators aren't allowed on the bus, however. So just wanted to kind of go over that piece in terms of getting out there race day. Just before I get too far into the race, I wanted to just touch base on a few things out at Sand Hollow. We've had a lot of snow up in the mountains in Utah this winter, so the lake level, we expect it to be pretty high. And right now, the water temperature is pretty cold, but we find that it doesn't take but a few weeks of warm weather in southern Utah to raise the water temperature in that lake. So as I get closer to the event, in a couple weeks, I'll probably have a water temperature for you, and then I'll do another Facebook Live where we kind of go over last minute details and things of that nature, and I'll get you another water temperature there. With all likelihood, given the water level height, it's probably with all likelihood going to be a wetsuit swim. But again, if they get the next 8 weeks of hot weather, that could change, but I don't expect it to at this time. So we don't have a formal practice swim out at Sand Hollow, so you're welcome to get out there and take a swim. I do recommend logistically that you try and take advantage of that in the morning. The winds typically start to pick up as the day progresses, so if you get out there in the afternoon, it can be pretty choppy and kind of a miserable practice swim environment. So that's a little bit about the swim venue in terms of preparing and getting out there for a practice event or a warm-up, and just get a sense of what the water temperature is like. logistically, come race day, again, because it's a 2 transition race, you've got the T1 out at Sand Hollow and T2 back in town. You'll be getting 3 bags in your check-in bag. You'll get your morning clothes bag, your bike gear bag, and your run gear bag. So, as I said, you'll be dropping off your run gear bag on Friday. You can hold on to your bike gear bag if you want, or you can leave that with your bike on Friday. Then you'll also have, obviously, the morning clothes bag. So we will bring all that stuff back to you from T1. So there'll be a big pile right adjacent to T2 where you can pick up your bags starting at 1:45 on race day. But you just give us a little bit of time to kind of set things up in terms of organizing all that stuff. So that's why we kind of need a few hours. And I know that some of the athletes who finish early are chomping at the bit to get their bag, but we ask for you guys to be patient just so that our volunteers can organize all those bags and make it a quick and orderly checkout with your race number. And we'll have, obviously security there to make sure you're grabbing the right bike and the right bags. But race morning, again, whether you take the bus or not, we'll be doing wave starts this year again. And I wanted to just kind of touch base real quick. I know that we get a lot of feedback each year, positive and negative, about kind of where we seed athletes by age group. And I know that there's those aggressive, fast athletes who get frustrated that they might be at the back one year. And that might be you this year. And I want to just explain just briefly why we do that. And the reason is that our swim wave window covers over an hour. And that hour can make a difference to some athletes in terms of how long they're out there and how long they're in the heat. And we want to try and make it fair and equitable year over year, so that the same age group athletes or the same athletes are not subjected to that extra hour out in the heat or whatever the weather might be. And so we try and mix it up each year. Try to be fair and move folks around. But that's the nexus of the swim wave order. And the nice thing about this course is that we've got some climbs. It's known for the climbs. And it's a 56-mile closed course. So you don't have a lot of space constraints where you might be worried, well, am I going to be able to pass a slower athlete? There's plenty of room out there on the course, and as long as you are able to communicate and let folks know that you're passing, there's plenty of room for them to move to the right and for you to pass on their left. So just wanted to go over that a little bit. Obviously, T1 will have plenty of bathrooms out there, and so you guys will be able to hit those before you start the swim. You'll exit the swim logistically, and you'll run up and around transition. And get out on your bike, and then hit the run, and again finish on Main Street. So I don't know, I might have some questions in Facebook, on the Facebook page, about bike or run course stuff, but I'll stick to kind of logistics, and I might bounce around a little bit. But let me just check and see what kind of questions we have. It looks like folks are asking when transition closes in the morning, which is a good question. Our pro athlete, the first pro athlete wave, starts at 6:55. So we generally want to close the swim shortly thereafter. We want to close the transition shortly thereafter, so that we don't have athletes milling around in transition as the pros finish. So I would expect us to be closing transition between 7 and 7:10 at the latest, to make sure that everybody's out of there in time for those first athletes to start coming in. Some other questions that are coming in, let me just take a look. The Ironman St. George, somebody's asked whether or not it will allow an assisted athlete. So not knowing exactly what level of assistance they're needing, St. George has some challenges to an assisted athlete depending on what your needs are. But we have an athlete services team that evaluates everybody's needs and what they're looking for. And so I recommend if you have special needs in terms of getting out there and racing, that you touch base with our athlete services team. And if the St. George course doesn't work for you, we definitely want to work to find one of our events that works for you. I think we had a question again about the rolling start. We are trying the rolling start for the 70.3 out at the Oceanside event this year, the beginning of April. And we'll be looking at that. Certainly, it has some advantages similar to the full event, where you get to self-seed yourself based on kind of how fast you feel like you're going to swim. And so we are looking at that at Oceanside, but at least this year in St. George, we are at least at this time planning on sticking with the age group waves. I wanted to touch base on a neat promo. Maybe you've registered already or you're thinking about registering. Obviously, registration is still open for the St. George event, but we have a great race weekend promotion. And for anybody who's currently registered, or if you register by midnight on March 26th, you'll be entered for a drawing to have a 3-night stay at the Coral Springs Resort. In addition, you'll have 4 VIP passes for family or friends that come with you, and it's a great giveaway. So if you haven't registered yet, I certainly, and you're intending to register, hopefully you get that registration in by March 26th and entered to win that drawing. So it's super convenient, real close to the swim start, and you got a full kitchen set up, so it's nice that you can kind of make your own meals and whatnot, and you get a 3-night stay and the VIP passes. So it's a great promotion, and obviously anybody who's registered currently, but any of you out there thinking about registering for the event, make sure to try and get in before the 26th so you can be part of that drawing. Just trying to see if there's any other questions coming in right now. Things are a little quiet, but I wanted to just mention a couple other things. One being, check out the Facebook page if you don't do so on a regular basis. I'll be trying to send out some videos and additional content, and then keep your eyes peeled. I'll do another Facebook Live event in a couple weeks, focusing on course details. And you're always welcome to kind of Facebook message me on the Facebook page. I try and check it regularly. So if there's a specific question that you have, I'll do my best to answer it or direct it to somebody that can answer it. We had a couple other questions coming in. Is there transport to get back to race start if you park out there? We don't provide any afternoon bus shuttling. So if you're running solo, I again would recommend that you take the bus. If you're obviously there with family or friends, then they can take your car back to downtown St. George, but we are not providing shuttling back out to T1 after the event. Let's see. I'll wrap up here in a minute, unless any other questions come up, just to save you guys the time of listening to me blather. But I wanted to just hopefully clarify some items regarding the logistics. And I hope this has been helpful. We got one more question coming in, so I'll try and answer that one. Bike mechanic assistance during the race. We do, and we will. We have a combination of tech vehicles out there that specialize just in kind of swinging by and trying to fix flats and mechanical issues that folks might have. We've got Ironman course staff, so we have 4 course vehicles with Ironman staff out there. They also are keeping their eyes out for tech-related issues. And then we do have some SAG vehicles, and we give them a pump and some tubes, and they can generally do some basic mechanic work as needed. So we always do provide that out on course. It's always a first come, first serve, and if you can make it to an aid station, that aid station captain will be able to get a relayed message to our command center and hopefully help dispatch somebody to you. If you're unfortunate and can't obviously get there and you're in between, then we have those tech support roving around, and hopefully they'll happen upon you sooner rather than later. So I hope your training's going well. I know it's drying out here in California, and so I'm excited. I hope everybody's training is going well. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out there come race day, and again, keep your eye out on the Facebook page, and we'll be doing a few more of these over the course of the next few weeks. All right, take care. Thanks.